Denver Hyatt is 1,100 keys. San Antonio Hyatt is 1,000 keys. So we know, we have a very good idea of the mission of this particular type of facility from delivering this. But another part of the mission that we think we really excel at is we understand that this is people coming to this particular hotel. Probably about 50% of this business are people coming to your community. So this is just more than a hotel that people would expect. We want to make sure that this particular hotel portrays the image that you want to present, to these guests. So we're very cautious. Some of the images we presented are images of other hotels. We haven't done a specific concept for your hotel because we want to hear what you have to say about how this hotel should look and present itself to the convention center and the balance of your community. The finance structure we proposed is taking advantage of the GO Zone bonds being issued. But we also believe that for a privately owned hotel, there should be private investment. And for that particular reason, we aren't requiring 100% financing of GO Zone bonds. We've got a 10% equity stake of private equity sources, which I could talk further about if there are questions about that. But the reason for the 90-10, it's a convenient number to use, conventional financing in today's market would typically require 40% equity or 50% equity. So it's a property that doesn't work privately, but the reason for the 10% is because that's how much the property's performance can support in terms of cash equity. The expected returns that those private equity sources are expecting, that's the level that we think that this project will support. And it's significantly enhanced by the fact that your primary source of financing is a lower rate, 4.25%, as compared to, say, 6.5% that might be available in the current private markets. Any questions? Or I don't know if any members of our team want to say anything. Don, do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
Or Herb?
Okay. We appreciate the opportunity again to come before this board and talk about the intended development project.
Introduce yourself again.
I'm Don Hewitt with Advanced Technology Building Solutions. We went a step farther with this proposal. I don't know if Bob mentioned it on yesterday. We wanted to include as much local participation as possible from the city, from the county, or even from the state. So one thing Bob alluded to, we took pride in the fact that this model was built on buying goods and services in the local market because of the economy. We wanted to get people back to work. And so programmatically, Journeyman Austin has a program in place where they have a criteria of what they use to select subcontractors in the marketplace to not only just provide some support for those minorities, but also to get them trained where their funding may lack, so that they can participate in the project. So that was a really critical piece to this whole program that we put together. But more than that, we felt a need to, in the design process, the thought process was to consider the expansion for the convention center itself and to design a hotel program that could be acclimated or could assist the convention center itself. And Bob can talk a little bit more about how that kind of played into being able to use the meeting space, ballroom space of the hotel to add additional space to the convention center. So those were programmatically, we looked at this thing from a holistic standpoint. We realized too that the cost of capital, it is what it is, but at the same time though, we wanted to sort of negate the city's risk. And so we were trying to put together a better program and then also deliver parking as well. So that was our game plan from the outset, and I think we accomplished it in the RFP.
Speak to the issue of parking.
Parking, okay. We're contemplating 300 key structured parking. That's part of our program. Bob can kind of speak to the keys and things like that, but it complements the hotel, and there's also some retail space that's included in the hotel property as well. So we wanted to do something that sort of blends well. In fact, we went a step farther too on the design team. I don't know if you mentioned being a dean, but we realized that this needed to be a destination place. A hotel is a hotel is a hotel. Hotels don't create sales tax. But if we created a destination such as Dean and Dean has done at the Renaissance Mall, it creates a destination, it increases the city's sales tax. Those were things we considered when we put together the team. So that's what you're going to find with this team that we're delivering today.
Your parking response, very good question, because the three options have various parking solutions. Obviously, the option 3 has a building with an adjacent 560 space parking structure. So that hotel development would use a prorated share of those parking spaces. The other options, we would handle the parking solution in different ways. For option 1, for example, that when that block is entirely developed, we expect that there'll be approximately 600 plus spaces on that block, the entire 2 block actually is what it is. There'll be one level of parking below grade, and then the balance of the parking will be elevation of the ground and above. But the footprint of the parking will be not the entire footprint of the block on the ground, the grade, and upper levels. Surrounding the parking will be retail. We expect, and again, our proposal is based on just the hotel, but we needed to look at how we think the balance of the property could be used on that particular block to make sure that the hotel works in concert with that. So we envision on that parcel of property for option 1 is the 300-key hotel, but also roughly, give me a help, 30 some odd thousand square feet, I think, of retail street front retail. We expect, and probably about 196 residential units above the retail.
Other questions?
In the security center building, parking right now, I assume it's already full of people using it.
Well, there's 2 towers. I mean, that parking supports 2 office towers. I looked at the ratios of parking from typically 3 to 4 per 1,000 square feet. And when you take that south tower out of service, there's a surplus. There would be a surplus of parking. So that parking structure appears more than adequate to handle both the hotel and the adjacent office.
Brian, to add to that, we've been in negotiation with Dennis Sweet and Associates to acquire his site for additional parking. That will also be a connection point from the hotel. If option 3 were selected, that would be a connection point from the hotel to the convention center.
How important is your financing package with the Go Zone bonds? How important is that? Does it not work if you do this thing in February?
We would like to take advantage of Go Zone bonds, but it's not imperative. It's not a deal killer. Go Zone bonds are not utilized. We envisioned right now there's an anomaly in the market. And so private taxable bonds are traded just as well as tax exempt. So really there's no material benefits there. The Mississippi Business Finance Corporation will issue bonds anyway. Some of the same tax incentives that are available through GoZone are still available through the Mississippi Business Finance Corporation. So basically it can be a net, there's no really huge loss. But since the city's ready to go, and out of due respect for the governor who's parked these GoZone bonds for this project, we'd like to move forward.
You talked about additional development for the future. Would you be coming back to the city and or JRA for additional participation in those projects?
Let me answer that question. I would say we would like not to, but
so would we.
Yeah. And the reason for the reason for that answer is this: it could be that we might request some TIF dollars for, let's say, parking or infrastructure improvements to help spearhead the retail developments that's going to go on. Our biggest goal is retail, restaurant, entertainment, and then of course parking, because that's going to create this destination point now. Dean and Dean may differ with me on that, but I know that if we don't get complementary commercial space or retail space, the hotel's going to have some problems. We're not trying to go in this thing blindsided. We're aware of the challenges, but we've got them there to help master plan it so that it can go as smoothly as we need to go. So to answer the question, we might need JRA support, but we'll try to limit that just like we're going to limit in this proposal as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something about what we would do. We're in a similar circumstance in Savannah, Hutchinson Island. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular project, but we're building a hotel next to a convention center that's on an island across the river from Savannah, and there's not a lot else over there. There's a western resort with a golf course, but other than that, there's not a lot. The authority has 5 parcels available for development. The hotel going on Block 2, and then there's the other 4 that are not slated for development yet, but there's plans of what those would be. And we think it's vital that this hotel have other developments around it for some retail, because you're going to get sick of that hotel food pretty fast, even though they do their best. It's just not the same kind of thing. But our approach is not to say, hey, we're going to come in and develop it. Our approach is to say, we know what this can be developed as, but we will try to solicit local participants to do that. There's no reason why a firm from Austin, Texas should be, we think there's a reason why there's a firm coming from Austin, Texas to do your hotel. We're not certain that you need somebody from Austin, Texas to do your retail residential. So our thought would be, we'll help plan those developments, we'll help your local interest in those developments. We certainly would have interest in doing that. And what kind of support we would need to do that, I'm not absolutely certain at this time. But that is our approach. We try to use local participation, not just in building a hotel, but make sure that if there's business interest here to be developed, that's what should be happening.
Yesterday in our meeting, we talked about option 2 not being a very good option because that's really where the expansion of the convention complex would go. And there's a parcel, a block right across the street from there, which is west of Ferry Street, which would also be a pretty ideal spot if the other site didn't work out.
That's correct.
In my mind's eye, that's a better option than the third option.
Yeah, we would explore that. Ideally, we need to get a better understanding what your plans are to expand that convention center, and that's going to be working with SMG. And I guess my idea of this is there a way to expand the convention center where there's space that can be utilized by both the hotel and the convention center? Because every time I go to Savannah, I'm walking through their facility and there's nobody there. I mean, it makes me sick that this asset is sitting there, and not only are they not generating income by using the facility, but they're not getting the economic benefit of that facility not being used, which is outside of that particular property. So I agree with you that we need to understand the expansion requirements, and the site across the street is certainly ideal if the expansion plans would not allow for the development of that hotel south of the Firestone site.
How many hotels have you done? Convention center hotel?
8 or 10 in the last 12 years. Like, I could list them off. When you say convention center hotels, the hotels I'm talking about in the last 10, 11 years have been primarily publicly owned. With your similar type of effort, what you're going through here is attracting a hotel. I've done a lot of other hotels. I've been in this business a little more than 10 or 11 years, I'm afraid to say. So probably close to 20 hotels in a 35-year career. Anything up from 120-room Hilton Garden Inn up to 1,200-key hotel in San Antonio or Denver, or what the exact key count is, I don't recall this particular time.
Part of the RFP had in it, if I remember, a guarantee of $100 million, or have net assets or net worth of $100 million.
No.
What did it say? What was the?
It states an asset portfolio of $100 million.
Net asset portfolio?
No,
Just
an
asset portfolio.
asset portfolio.
And so
What's
there's,
that?
yeah.
If you've got $100 million in assets and 120 in liabilities, that's the issue.
Who would write in that?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, we far exceed what we think, what we interpreted the requirement of the RFP to be. We've shared our financial information that shows what our asset value is. One of the members of our team is Pacific Rural Hotels. depending on what you read, they have somewhere between $1 and $2 billion in their property portfolio. You can go to their website and view that same information, and I'll give that address to you if you'd like. So yeah, we believe we fully meet the requirements of the RFP.
With that as well, would there be a full recourse guarantee by the entity?
Yes, personal. Yeah, initially the personal guarantee would be coming from Journeyman Construction, Sam Kumar. Sam Kumar has a net wealth of in excess of $10 million net. I'm not talking about assets, we're talking about net. And
What's his last name?
Sam Kumar, Kumar.
Yesterday, you weren't sure of that particular question, but you're coming back today.
Well, I probably was sure, but I don't know how I conveyed it. But I am more sure of it today. I reconfirmed Sam Kumar on the phone last night and again this morning, and he authorized that statement, to be made.
I will share this. I think Bob was a little bit caught off guard. He'd been up since 3 and haven't traveled to Jackson, so I think he took a lot of these questions. He may not have heard them correctly, so I sort of talked to him last night about it, that he may not have affirmed all the answers correctly, so we got on page together, so that's why I was here to tell you this.
So are you personally, you're saying that there is a personal guarantee as well as the asset?
Yes. Yeah, when you get a personal guarantee, he's putting a guarantee from Journeyman Construction, which owns all the entities, Journeyman Austin Holdings, Journeyman Development Group, Journeyman Residential, and his personal assets.
And is that the usual way that he does it in all of these other holdings?
Well, the usual way,
How could
no.
do that?
Remember 2008? Before that you would get what's called non-recourse financing. That's gone away. We have not been able to find lenders that, private side now, that will do that. I mean, they're requiring full recourse on the development deals we're doing right now. We're doing a similar deal in Lawton, Oklahoma, it's a much smaller project, and some small residential deals in Austin. No, it's not. I guess what I'm saying is that we wouldn't like to do it, but I would consider it to be currently normal.
Now, let me clarify. It's non-recourse on hotel properties, because there is non-recourse lending available on residential properties. Multifamily properties.
Has his personal guarantee on other notes already?
Does he have personal guarantee on other notes? Probably. Not at this magnitude. In our financial structure, there are other stopgaps of protection. With the operator, he's not going to earn any management fees if we don't meet NOI. There's a guarantee on that. So, in our proposal, we say that the lease purchase payment on the dirt is subject to equity return. So there are lots of gaps to cover that. But the idea is we're very confident that your bonds, whether ozone bonds or some other form of bonds, will be well protected by how we expect this hotel to perform.
Could you give us a little more conversation about your anticipated flag?
More conversation about it? I wouldn't say no. I would say no. We have not since yesterday. I will say this: that all the concepts that we've done, we haven't shared them all, but we looked at. Obviously, we do 3 options. We wanted to make sure we could fit a particular hotel on there. All those options were based on Starwood, criteria. But there's not a huge difference between Starwood, Marriott, and Hilton. In a lot of ways, when we plan, we will build to the higher standard. If Marriott has a higher standard than Starwood, even though we're doing Starwood flag, we will build to that Marriott standard in that particular area of the building. A big example of that is room size. Marriott requires less room in a king than Hilton or Starwood. So we don't do that. We don't take advantage of that. We build to that higher criteria because that's very important. To us as an owner, for you, we need to decide, hey, Starwood is the wrong flag here. Something bad may happen. Maybe you get a bad name, like Legionnaire's disease or a fire at one of their hotels, where people are very hesitant. So we want to be able to make that transition very easily and quickly without significant upgrade to the hotel to another flag.
At what point would that be determined?
What?
At what point do you think the flag would be determined?
Well, we can't go too far in the planning process for the hotel without the operator, being on board. So I would say within a 30-day period, that decision would be made.
Because we've got a gentleman over here chomping at the bit to have a flag to go out and help sell.
Yeah, we totally understand that. We do believe there's a dire need there, and I think we can move as fast as anybody we can, just because of our experience. I've already checked with, for example, our architect. We could be back in here Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and I think I have a strong enough relationship with most of the hoteliers that they'll be available to participate. And until we make a final decision on what the operator is, we will certainly get input from all of them, which is uncommon for us, to make sure that we're proceeding down this direction. At what point in time do they want to become involved in planning this particular hotel? But I think initially, what SMG has, they have a better understanding what that hotel needs to do for them than that hotel operator. It will take them some time to get up to speed.
Well, you mentioned DoubleTree yesterday.
Yeah.
Is DoubleTree up or down?
What do you mean?
Is it a better flag or a less
I think it's a
flag?
much better flag in the last couple of years. They changed the name. It's not just DoubleTree anymore. They call it DoubleTree by Hilton or Hilton DoubleTree. I don't know what their current marketing is, but I think the flag is, to me, it's a pretty well accepted product. There's no question in the convention business industry, your main ones are going to be Hilton, probably number one, Marriott, Sheraton, somewhere in that. But Hilton would be, in my opinion, number one. Hilton probably will not be able to come in because they're conflicted by another meeting-oriented hotel here in Jackson.
Other questions from commissioners or our attorneys? Or any of our consultants who work with us? Herb, you have something?
My phone, yeah, the question audience. Okay. I misunderstood his statement.
If the questions that's from the consultants, I have a list of questions from both parties as they speak today.
How many should I be prepared for?
About 12.
Oh, well.
Stand up, Bob, and let everybody know who you are. The press is here today, so tell them who you are. The press is here.
Bob Swartling. I'm a hospitality consultant that focuses specifically on the public-private finance sector. I have, I'm one of about 3 or 4 people in the country that focus on it. There's only been about 20 projects that have been done of this character, so there's not a lot of room in the industry for many. And I have been working on behalf of the city through Porter Bingham for the past year or so, most intensively over the past 8 to 10 months, in working trying to fashion a transaction. So with that introduction, from neither party do I currently have all the details as to what the construction arrangement will be, what the bonding will look like on the construction, so on and so forth. Until they can answer that question, of course, we're not in a position to speak one way or the other.
We can
but
answer
I have had questions answered to some extent verbally. It would be papering those questions that would be necessary to get to the closing. This group does not account in their financing to provide for what we call the surplus land. The city benefits in in one financing as opposed to the other, and I'd like to know your thoughts on where, if there's money, if there's any intent, there's a willingness to participate in funding the city's acquisition.
There is intent, willingness. I got back to my hotel room last night, and I remember you saying that the duos on bonds had a 30-year term, which
Maximum under Mississippi
30-year
state law.
term. We based our pro forma on a 20-year term. And the difference in annual debt service between 20 years and 30 years is about $1.1 million a year. So I ran some numbers last night, and maintaining a 22% return on the equity, it works out that the land lease purchase agreement would generate approximately $12 million in a 10-year period. So it appears, I think I can state that today based on what Mr. Kumar told me this morning, we can commit to that the hotel will support the acquisition of the entire property. If the $12.1 million that this pro forma projects over that period, is going to do what we need to do. That puts us back in control of that particular land. And I guess what I want to add that just because that we will still continue to look for other entities local to participate in the development of that property.
Okay. And I would suggest to you that whether or not you had control of that land would be up to negotiations with the city.
Yes. Oh, we understand that.
Your comments about DoubleTree, is that a serious comment?
What do you mean?
I don't think that the hospitality community respects DoubleTree at the same level as Hyatt, Hilton, and Marriott.
I think I answered that. Yeah, I would agree with Hilton, Starwood, Sheraton, Marriott were the three that you would obviously want to look to first to be the operator hotel. Then there's others. I know your particular feelings on various operators, and I know you have rather strong feelings about that. But Wyndham, for example, is another potential hotel.
But you do understand that the city and the JRA will be making a good decision reviewing and approving any management arrangements.
Well, we certainly understand. That's pretty common. That's pretty common for probably every hotel we've done in the last 10 or 12 years.
Can you give us some detail, a little more detail on the cost to carry calculation in your proposal? Was quite low.
Cost to carry?
Cost to carry for the loan was quite low. Are you accommodating a bank nature loan on a draw basis or a public finance capitalizing?
I don't understand this question. Do you understand that?
How much is the cost to carry associated with your construction period? The financial cost.
Yeah. We need to look at that closer. We have assumed that the carry cost would be based on the amount drawn out by the construction needs. I think it totals around $2.7 million during the construction period. We understand that this isn't a conventional construction loan, that you're borrowing all that money at once and you have interest carry, but we thought that there would be interest earned on those dollars. But I don't, until it's needed for construction.
In today's interest rate environment, I don't think the city would rely on the interest income associated with deposits, I'm sure.
Again, the cost of carry, I gave you the cash flow formulas that showed how that was calculated. I assume that you reviewed that. It was in our proposal. Recognizing pro forma was the actual cash flow. It showed that before any of those bond funds are used for construction, the equity is used first. The $7.5 million covers the first 3 or 4 months of construction dollars.
And my final question to you is, the 4.25% interest rate that you have in the proposal, that's based on a 20-year financing? In our proposal, it's 4.25% 20 years. And it was extended to 30 to reduce the risk to the city and the JRA and their backup mechanism. That would be acceptable.
I think that if you want, that's the only way I think that we can carry the cost of all of the land, is to go that 30-year term. And I haven't shared that with anybody yet, but we can look at that. You have the opportunity to look at that.
Those are all the questions I have.
Okay. That's less than 12.
I skipped over to 101.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
For the commissioners to, we get all of that in terms of what you're saying, in terms of cost of care.
Right. I haven't looked at the pro forma, so I have no idea. It was, real low interest rate embedded in the pro forma?
Well, the interest rate in the pro forma that they've shown is 4.25%. That's consistent with a 20-year bond as opposed to a 30-year bond. city and the JRA desire the financing to support the land. I think the comment that you'd have to extend from a 20-year to a 30-year is correct. And in addition, I think the interest rate would probably go up about 27.5%. There are other, even more technical factors that I didn't want to bring to discussion here, such as the fact that the tax IRS requirements with respect to the bonds doesn't allow for 100% tax exempt issue under the GO zones. So the interest rate